Hi, this is Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. Now today I'm broadcasting from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm passing the word out to YouTube and Facebook. So I hope you're all looking in. I hope you enjoy the show today. Gloria, my wife's in the studio today.
Hello.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast, and she'll be checking on the chat room. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about my palette in a bottle, basic color set in the spray bottles. So what you see a picture up here on the screen today, that is the basic set. And you can find that on my homepage, on my website, everettswatercolors.com. Now today I'm going to use those colors, and I'm going to create a painting and do. First of all, I'm going to go through some techniques. I'm going to go through how to operate and also how to take care of those bottles, and then we'll go over and do some techniques on actual painting, and show you some of the things that I can do with a spray bottle. I use these spray bottles just about every day in my paintings. So in one way or another, I use a spray bottle. It's a great way to introduce the color, get texture, and to do a lot of different things. So let me take you over to my painting table. I'll turn on the chat room. Okay, live chat's on. Okay, this is the basic set, which I showed you a picture of. But here I've got the four colors. Now, the reason I chose these colors is that these are Holbein artist watercolors. This is lemon yellow. This is a cobalt blue. And these are the tubes that come in. These are the 15 milliliter tubes. Nice, lots of paint in here in these individual tubes. Green number 1, opera, and the last one here is yellow ochre. Now, one of the reasons I chose these three colors, number one, the yellow, red, and blue, of course, are the basic primary, but I've chose what I consider the brightest colors in my palette. The yellow lemon and the opera are very bright colors. The green number 1 is my brightest green. Cobalt blue is a natural blue. It's one of the basic colors in the color wheel, and it's a natural color blue. The yellow ochre is a darker yellow, but I use that also to mix and gives me a nice contrast with other colors. So let me move these aside here. I'm going to do some operation here. Let me put them aside up here, and I'll be using these spray bottles in my demonstration today. Yeah, the palette in the bottle is sold exclusively on Everetts Watercolors. Palette in the bottle. I came up with that idea when I was painting my palette. I said, well, if I put these spray bottles, what am I going to call it? And also, the other bottle that's available is a plain bottle, and this is what I carry water in. And it's very important. I use that to water down the paints, and also to add a little bit of texture to the paper and so forth. You'll see me use that today. There's a lot of history behind these spray bottles. It took Gloria, my wife, and I over 2 years to find a decent spray bottle. These original spray bottles went out of manufacturing. They were no longer being made. So it took us 2 years to find a decent substitute. So after 2 years of long exploration, we found a decent substitute. So this is a list of this is a list here on my palette. Let me show you. It's a basic set, palette in a bottle. It has 5 dot sprays. 4 is for paint and 1 is for the water. A fine mist bottle with a fine mist sprayer. And the Holbein colors are lemon yellow, cobalt blue, green number 1, opera, and yellow ochre. And these colors can be this basic set and the other colors can be found on my website, www.everettswatercolors.com. Okay, well, let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to show you now couple the tools I'm going to be using today. The most important of all is my water buckets. And I have usually I have two. One for rinsing the brushes out. Today it's going to be rinsing the spray bottles out, and the other is with clean water in it. Now, what I do with a spray bottle, the way this one here happens to be a dot spray, and I've got quinacridone violet in. Incidentally, I have a spray bottle for all my paints. All 15 colors I have spray bottles for. And I would recommend, if you're going to invest in the spray bottles, that you get the basic set and get a couple extra bottles to have on hand to expand your palette and to add more colors to your. Now, the way you load this is the tube of watercolor, and what you do is you squeeze the paint into the bottle, and you squeeze out about a little over an inch into the bottle, and then if you have a spray bottle, or go to your sink, and then you put in some water, and say if you're starting with a brand new bottle, you'd fill it up with maybe an inch and a half of water, and then put maybe an inch and a half extended paint into the bottle. But then the next thing to do is, once you load it in, I'm going to put some in right now. Okay, so my operation is, I'm going to squeeze a little bit in here, just a little bit, because I already got some in the bottle. But I'm going to add more water to it. So I'd go to the sink, or I'd go to the spray bottle like this. This is a large sprayer, which I use also, fill up the bottles, and I use this for other techniques. So the quantity here is about, I'd say one fourth paint and 3/4 water to start out with. And then you shake out the bottle real good. This will mix the paint. And the first operation you want to do is you want to prime the pump. So what you do, I'm going here to this. What that does, it gets the paint up into the sprayer. Gets the liquid up into the sprayer. So you got to come over to your spray bottle. I'm spraying right now into just this bucket of water, and then you go to your painting, and you just use a light tapping motion, very little pressure, and you come up with whatever pattern you're looking for. Now, if you're just trying to just cover the paper in a certain area, so as you can see now, you get a beautiful pattern of dots. Okay, and that could be for foliage in the trees. It could be for a garden with flowers and so forth. It could be for a lot of things. I'll use it for all kinds. We'll talk about that today when I work on the painting. And then the bottle here with just water in it. Now you saw when I first put the drops on, I hold it about 2 or 3 inches from the paper, just above, and just lightly tapping. Now, as I go, if I lift it up higher, then the drops become more dispersed. I get closer to the paper, and the dots will be a little closer together. Okay, so closer dots come down to the paper. You want to spread the dots out, and you raise your hand above, and it gets to give you a more dispersed pattern. Once you get the spray bottle, now with the water in the other spray bottle, this is the dot sprayer. And way you can recognize that is I have the label. The label is on the bottle. I have this labeled as dot spray, and of course with a white top on it, you can identify this as a dot sprayer. The white top, and of course the label. And I hold this above, maybe 5 or 6 inches above. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm spraying just paper on, just water on top of those drops. And what that does, that breaks up those little dots. And now I have a dispersed pattern. That could be a bunch of flowers. It could be treetops. It could be raindrops laying on the grass. So now I'm going to take the dryer and dry that up a little bit. Okay, another thing you do you can also move your board around, and as the water is still on the paper, you have a chance of controlling the flow of the paper, so you can get another interesting pattern by moving the paper. So in between applications, you can use a blow dryer to blow it down. Now I'm going to show you another operation. I'm going to change the tops. I've got an extra fine mist sprayer here, which has got the black top. Now, what's unique to this is this spray bottle is not a standard size spray bottle, so you just can't change. Now, what I'll do is put this into the water. I drop that into my water bucket. I'll show you why I do that in a minute. And on the fine mist sprayer, I'll put that in here. So here I can exchange the tops with these bottles, because these tops are interchangeable with these bottle sizes. So now again, I'll prime the pump on this one. Now on a fine mist, you don't hold it down as close to the paper. You hold it back a little ways, let's say about 10, maybe 12 inches away. Now you'll see, I'm going to move my hand a little bit off the board here, and you press down a steady pressure, and it will release the. You can see the spray coming out. And now that gives me the fine mist pattern. Okay, the fine mist. Okay. Now this is nice for if I want to add another color to a painting. If I was painting, and say in a large area with yellow and green, I want to add some blue to it. I could pick up a fine mist sprayer and add to that a color. So it's an easy way to add color to a painting is with a fine mist. Add a little more value to a painting. Add a little more color. The dot spray. The dot sprayer is more for texture. If you want to get splatter or dots on a page or dots on an area, the dot spray is more for texture. Now, here's the other thing operation-wise. As soon as you're finished painting for the day or for the time you're painting, clean out your sprayer. So what I have here, I'm using my spray bucket here, my water bucket, and you just put the sprayer into there, and of course, you put it away so it doesn't get you in the face. But then you you spray that until you get clean water. Now, also you'll know functionally once you've loaded it with paint. Sometimes the paint's getting inside. It's getting inside the sprayer, and you're going to find out that sometimes when you press down on the sprayer, it may stick a little bit. Well, what you do, I pull it up. What I do is I pull it up with my other hand, and I continue to spray. So you just have to learn how to operate. But that's the one basic thing you remember is after you finish using the sprayer is you want to clean it out, and you just put it into a bucket and clean it out this way. And you do the same thing with a fine mister. Take the fine mist sprayer off, go into the bucket, just pump it 4 or 5 times until you get clean water coming out. And then you've got a clean sprayer, and you can interchange that with another bottle. With a basic set, this could be changed with any other bottles you have with the color in. I'm going to put this top back on, the one I have with the quinacridone violet in. Okay, let's talk about I'm going to move these buckets aside just a little bit here. Let's talk about some tools I'm going to use today. I'm going to use all 5 of the spray bottles. I am going to use the number 8 round Holbein synthetic brush just for a couple points. I got a couple things I'm going to use on the paint. And I'm going to use a little piece of the credit card, an old credit card I cut up into a piece, and I'm going to do some scraping with that. So those are the only tools I'm going to use in today's painting. So let me move this aside. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a landscape today, and this is really these are just some photos that I've taken off the different places. Different photos I've taken off different places, photographs and also pictures off the internet and so forth that are there for looking at. But here's one of a bunch of trees with a pathway, and that's kind of what I want to do today, is a pathway with some trees. But I also want to add in some foreground. So I've got one here with some flowers or weeds with some texture and some color here in the foreground. So I've got a combination of these two pictures here I'm going to use in today's painting for today's demonstration. So my design plan was I've got the horizon is going to be a low horizon about 2/3 of the way down on the painting. And I'm going to have a pathway going into the woods. I've got trees back here, and I'm going to have some flowers and weeds here in the foreground. Okay, so that's my painting plan. Now, as far as the colors, what I've done here is I've done a little mixing chart to show you all the colors that's available. Now, just these 5 colors, there's a lemon yellow, there's the opera, there's the green number 1, there's cobalt blue, and there's the yellow ochre. Those are the 5 colors I have today in spray bottles. And you can see how bright these colors are, the yellow, red, and the green. Very bright colors. Well, I've learned a long time ago that it's easier to dull down a bright color than it is to brighten up a dull color. So this is why I start with the brightest colors I have in my palette, in the spray bottle. Now I've done some mixes with these colors up here. For example, here I added the yellow lemon to the opera. You can see I get an orange color. I added yellow here to the green. I get like a greenish yellow. And here I added the yellow to the blue, and I got a darker green. And added yellow to the yellow ochre, and I get a lighter, somewhere in between yellow ochre and yellow lemon. I did also another color I'm interested in was the red and the green mixture together. It gives me a dark brown or a dull brown right here. I put in the red and mixed it in with the green right here. It gives me that mix. I'm not too interested in purples today, but I could do purple with red. The red and the opera with the cobalt blue, I get a nice, beautiful purple. But I'm not going to use that today very much, unless by accident. But I am going to use the green with the red. I'm going to use the green with the blue. I'm going to use green with the. This line right here will be very important because of the trees. That green one mixed with the red will give me a darker brown. The green mixed with the blue will give me a dark green. And the green number 1 marked with yellow ochre will give me another dull green. So that's a very important one here. For the flower, I'm going to have some flowers today, so I will be using the yellow lemon, and I'll be using the opera for some of the flowers, and of course green number 1 for some of the grass. Now the yellow ochre, I have a pathway, so the yellow ochre I can use the yellow ochre to do the pathway, and I can add in some blue to that to darken it up. And maybe a touch of red to change the color a little bit. So again, I have a variety here for my yellow ochre. Okay. So this is my mixing plan, and this is the colors I'm going to be mixing. Now I won't have to mix these on the palette. I will mix them by using the spray bottles. I'll spray a layer down with one color, and then I'll spray over top of it with another color to get these mixes. So not using paintbrushes today. I'll be using the spray bottles. Yeah, another tool I'll be using today is a little bit of stencil. I've got some stencil film here that I've cut up in different shapes. And here's some nice rough edges for trees and so forth. So you can use any material. This happens to be stencil film that I cut up in different sizes, both positive and negative shape. Here's the positive shape of a tree, or a negative shape of a tree, and here's the positive shape of the tree. So I can use either one. But you can take anything. This is a piece of photo paper, and you can draw out a diagram with a dark marker, and then go cut it out with an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. So you can make a design out of any hard material, like this is photo paper. Anything that's a little bit thicker than normal paper. Yeah. Yeah, the stencil film is available on my website, Everetts Watercolors. Now, also, let's go to my. I'm going to start off with a painting sketch. I've done a little preparation on the painting. This is a quarter sheet. This is a quarter sheet of quarter sheet of a Gemini watercolor paper. And in order to get the white paper, I just went ahead and I sprayed yellow ochre, no, correction, yellow lemon, and then I sprayed green number 1 using a dot sprayer. And then before I did that though, I also put down some masking fluid. And what I did there was I took my masking fluid took an old brush and I just dropped it on randomly on the bottom here, so I could save some white paper. So those are some preparations I did to make it a little easier to get started here. But basically, just toning down the white paper, and also what I did was when I did the spray, I cut out an old piece of watercolor paper and put it down here. So when I did the spray down here, I covered up the path, and then I could use I used the yellow ochre here to put on for the pathway. Okay, so those are some preparation steps I've done to get started. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and start working with some of the process here. So I'm going to use this paper. First thing I'm going to do is show you what I'm going to do. We're going to start here at the top. I'm going to work with the trees. And here's another lesson here. I took an old piece of watercolor paper, and I drew my sketch in here, and then I took an X-Acto knife and cut out the shape. So now I have a stencil pattern that I can use to cover up part of the painting, or part of the painting paper. And also what I recommend is you put paper towels and things around to protect the surfaces, and also protect the areas around it. You don't want spray bottles getting all over the place. So, okay, so I've done the preparatory step, which is just a general background color. But now I'm going to go in and start adding some more color. So I'm going to take the green number 1. We'll start out with the green. I'm going to work on the trees. So we're going to start with green number 1, and in the dot spray bottle, and I make sure I've got it shaken. It's been sitting here for a while, so I shake it up, make sure it's mixed up well. Then I'm going to prime the pump, get the color going. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put in some. Now these dot patterns now is going to be the tree foliage. So I'm going to be putting a little thicker concentration here of the green, especially over here in the top, along the sides. So now I'm really designing with the spray bottle. I'm designing where I want these colors to go. Okay, now because I got this path coming through here, and I got some sunlight coming through, I'm taking this dot spray with the lemon yellow, find the pump. Now I want a little lighter color here around this pathway, so I'm putting a little bit more yellow here around this section. This is going to be where the light's coming through the trees, so I want a little bit lighter in this area here. So right now I've added a layer of texture for the trees. It's not dark enough yet, but it is to get started. And you don't want to go in too soon and too heavy. You want to kind of let the painting build up on its own. So I'm going to put a little more texture up here, a little more texture, a little more pattern. Now I'm going to use I'll use the sprayer with the water in, and I'm going to add that now to the mix. That's going to spread those dots out a little bit because I don't want just dots everywhere. I want to show the look of leaves and foliage and so forth. So adding the water now on top of those drops is now breaking those drops up into a leaf pattern or a foliage pattern. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry that. So I'm going to turn on the hair dryer. Okay, I'll just start. I got it partially dry. I'll let it keep running. And you notice I moved the paper around, and that way I'll let those drops move around. They don't have to stay in one spot. I can move them around, get the paint to mix a little more. It'll move a little bit further. So now I'm going to go into the foreground now, and I want to paint the flowers in. So I've got another mat. Now this will cover up. We did that one. I'm going to cover up this area. And now I'm going down here. I'm going to put in the flower colors, and I think I'm going to use. Let's see. I'm going to use a little bit of the blue. Let me see my piece. Uh, green number one and cobalt blue. So I'm going to use green number one again. Also, I want remember I have my little pathway here protected, so I'll cover up my pathway, and now I can go ahead and spray away. And I'm gonna take the dot sprayer with the cobalt blue. Pump it. This first time I've used it, so I'm gonna pump the pump, prime the pump. It gets the paint to move into the sprayer. Just with a light tapping motion, getting a dot spray. Down here also, I'm going to add a little bit of the water. So this is just plain water, and I'll move that paint around a little bit. And I'll take away the shield. So now my roadway is still good. Here, you notice there I used my finger also. That was the only brush I used, just to move the paint around, because right now I just want to get the paint moving a little bit, spread it out a bit further. Okay, I'm going to go back now to the top one more time and put one more layer in. And this probably won't have as much the final colors in, because these are just a demonstration to show you how to put this in. Okay, now, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the dot sprayer and I'm going to put the fine mist top on. I'll drop this into the bucket, and this has been cleaned out from the previous use. Put the fine mist on top of the dot sprayer. Now I've got the fine mist sprayer on top of the dot sprayer. Behind the pump. Okay, now I'm going to make sure. Maybe I'll hold that little shield up here. Shield. You can use anything to shield the spray. What I'm going to do now is just put the spray now. Now I'm going to put a little more darker color up here, and the fine mister gives you a nice dispersed colors. It covers the area very quickly. Now before, just pick up the holding it away about 6 inches away. Lift that off. Now I've got an interesting looking shape there. So what I'm going to do now is take one of my stencils. I'm going to take one of my stencils here, and I'm going to put in a shape here that I like. So I can line up a stencil, something like this, and I can put this down here on here, and I can go ahead and spray on top of this. And now that shape down, now the shape there will show the shape I want to show. Then up here on the top, let's see, I want to get a negative shape. There's this one up here. I'm trying to find the shape that I want to use. This one here. And if I've sprayed an area that I don't want to have, then I take my tissue and paste that up a little bit. And I want to get rid of that shape up there. Cover that up. Okay. All right, now the last one I want to do now is the one on the bottom. I'm going to put some more in here at the bottom. I'll cover this up. And down at the bottom, I'm going to put some flowers. So let's see, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use opera. Put some pink flowers in there. I'll put some color. Just a light tapping motion. And then I'll use the lemon yellow. I'll put that down here in the foreground. Find the pump. Tapping motion. Just a light tapping motion. Okay. All right. That's going to be just about, as far as spray bottle techniques, that is what I wanted to show. Now let me dry this up a little bit. A little color over here. Adding a little wetness. So I need some wetness. Now I'm going to take the credit card now. I'm looking for, as the paint loses its shine, is when I can start scraping out. And it's not quite there yet. Try a little bit more. Now, if I really want to put the shape of a tree in here, not shape, but to put shapes of, let's see. I keep losing my my stencils. If I want to capture that shape of a tree, let's say a tree shape, then I put the spray bottle on that, and maybe the blue, using the blue fine mister. And I'll take that stencil off. I start beginning to build that shape up. And so the stencils are just something to have handy. Odd shapes, different shapes you can make up. And I have hundreds of them around that I use, but just to pick up one, just to show demonstration wise. Now I want to do a couple. I got two more things I want to show here down here real quickly. Okay, let me get my pickup. Okay, now I told you I had put down some masking fluid down here to save some of the white paper for some of these flowers. And this is just another technique, but using with spray bottles, it saves the white paper, because the spray bottles, you don't have control over where you're going to spray sometimes. So masking fluid sometimes will protect an area that you want to save. Yeah, the masking fluid I use is the Incredible White Mask, it comes in a 2-ounce bottle, and I put the paintbrush in there and just splattering on the paper itself. And these are the rubber cement pickups. That comes in a kit, mask fluid kit. Now what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use the brush just for a couple marks. So I've got the number 8. Let's see, yeah. Where's my yellow? Okay. And down here at the bottom, just to have a little bit of fun, I'm going to take the bottom, go right into the tube of lemon yellow, and I'm going to just put those flowers right down. Put these yellow flowers where I have those white dots. And I'll put a few over here. So this is pure pigment right out of the tube. So I know it'll be nice and bright. Just adding a few finishing touches here, just to add a little interest here in the foreground. And wash out the brush. And I have one other small little detail that yeah, this is the tube of Payne's Gray. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to add in a couple little features. Rinse out the brush. And add a little bit of the detail. I could have masked these out also, but I decided to go ahead and put these in the positive shapes. Putting in some tree trunks and limbs. Just for interest. And there might be a tree over here. Another trunk out here. And what I was going to do in this one, I was going to put a couple figures. So figures are going to put in. I'm looking at scale. So you get the size of the figure that you're going to put in there according to the dimension. And we'll put 2 people and a little person over here. Just a simple idea that someone walking in the woods over here. And it could be another tree out here, just to have landmark of some kind. And I'd like to follow it up with just a little bit of little shadow pattern show from the figures walking in the woods. Okay. All right, that's as far as the demonstration. Well, I just want to show you the techniques to use. It takes a little time to build it up with the spray bottle because there's a little bit of drying process in between and so forth. So let me show you one that I finished in more completion. But basically, the steps I had here was I started with a general background of some light blue and light green colors, and then I went ahead and added in the background of the trees with a dot spray bottle. Then I went down here with a dot spray bottle here with the green and the blue in the foreground. Then I went back with a fine mist sprayer and added in a little more of the bluish green in the background. And then I came forward with the dot sprayer with the opera and the yellow for the flowers. And then I added in the little details with the brush. And the masking fluid was just to protect the give you a little something here to look at. So now on this yellow ochre, I already put a layer down here. So it really doesn't need much more, but yellow ochre. Pull the top out. Put a little more ground, put a little more texture on a little more color here on the roadway. So I put the yellow ochre and it's in the fine mist, so I went ahead and put that in there to give a little more color to the pathway. Okay. So let me clear this aside. Out of the way. I'll say when you're working with spray bottles, you need to have lots of room and places to move things around because it does start to get a little crowded when you start working with a spray bottle. But they are a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. These handmade stencils also work when you want to build a shape or something like that, like I did here. Okay, let's go to the one that I set down. Yeah, I want a couple steps further on this one, and I darkened up the background quite a bit. But I just want you to get the idea of what you can do with spray bottles. That's the whole point today, was to demonstrate the spray bottle techniques and the things that you can do with spray bottles. And this is the only thing I really use the brush with. I put some brush work down here for the flowers just to put some stems on them, and I did add the trees, just a couple trees with a brush, and I did put the figures in with a brush. But everything else was done with the spray bottles. And then one of the things that I learned, someone read in a book a long time ago, is that you can't use light colors over top of dark. Usually the oil painters start with dark and add lights to it on top for highlights. Well, here I used I put the darks in first. There's some lots of cobalt blue. I put in. You can see I put in the red and the green. It gave me that brown mixture. And over here I put in that little bit of quinacridone violet over here in the purple. But then after it all dried, I went back with green number 1 and sprayed on top. You can see the light colors here on top of the dark colors. So in watercolor, you can put light colors on top of dark, and it does show up. And if you use the paint out of the tube like I did down here in the foreground, it shows up even better. So that's my landscape painting with spray bottles, and it's called "Taking a Walk in the Woods." That'll be the title of the painting, I guess. So let me go back to my main table. Okay. What I did today is I used the you see up here on the little sketch here on top of my left shoulder there that I used the palette in a bottle, basic set of colors as the spray bottles, and that's what I used today in today's painting. And I think they work very effectively. And I've tried those quite a bit. They're very effective, very economical, and a very easy way to paint. They add a lot of interest, a lot of texture to a painting, especially if you have a landscape with trees or you have mountains or grass, flowers in a garden. Makes lots of nice texture, get a lot of movement in the painting and so forth. And you can limit your brushwork. You can add brushwork on top of it or with it as you go along, using some stencils or a little bit of masking if you need it here and there to protect some of the paper. You can mask over top of color also to save some of the colors. So there's all kinds of ways to use it, but I wanted to show you today my effective way that I have used it in the past, and I use it in a lot of my paintings. Okay, so this dot spray bottle and fine mist spray bottles, the palette and the bottle is a very effective resource to use in art. So I request for you, request that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, give me a likes and give me a thumbs up, and give me some comments on YouTube and also on Facebook. So I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock.